I hope you're well. This is Atik from the Homeopathy Health Podcast, which goes out to over 49,000 listeners around the world, and also a host of Homeopathic Voices from around the world. Now, my guest today is Dr. Shekhar Algundgi, and he's joining me all the way from Paris, actually. So just waiting to invite. Oh, here we are. Okay. Hi, Dr. Shekhar. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
All well, all well.
We had some technical problems, but thankfully they've all been ironed out. Eh? The joys of Instagram. Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you properly.
Great. So just for those tuning in, and of course those who will listen after on YouTube and on my Instagram, today my guest on episode 12 of Homeopathic Voices from Around the World is Dr. Shekhar Algundgi, and he is joining me. Originally, he resides in India, but he's actually visiting Paris, so France, for a conference. So we're going to talk about all of that and much, much more. So, Dr. Shekhar, thank you so very much for joining me. Real pleasure.
My pleasure.
And right at the start, we must give a really huge shout out to Dr. Priyanka for connecting us and all the work that she's doing in the background. Amazing, amazing. Very, very happy that I also connected with her. Now, I'm also happy that to tell you that she will also be joining me on Instagram Live soon. So that will be very nice indeed, huh? So, Dr. Shekhar, for those that don't know perhaps the work that you do, please do introduce yourself for everybody's benefit.
Well, I'm Dr. Shekhar, practicing in western suburbs of Mumbai from past 33 years now. I'm also attached with the other song, International Academy of Advanced Homeopathy, with Dr. Rajan Shankar and the entire team. We started a workshop at Konkan called as the Swara Homeo Gurukul, which is conducted 4 times in a year, 7 days. Each workshop is of 7 days, and it is conducted in the month of March, June, September, and December. The basic idea for starting all this is because in a cosmopolitan city, it becomes quite expensive for students, especially, to spend that much of money to pay for stay and food and everything. So I thought, instead of spending on the infrastructure for all that matter, the whole idea is to learn. So a native place which would be affordable for the students, I started that project. And I also travel a lot, seminars all over India as well as in Europe, and of course homeopathic practice also that is there. And I'm also teaching at the academy, International Academy of Other Song, and also practicing over there as a visiting consultant. That is all about what I have to tell you about.
There's much, much more which we're going to discuss, actually. You're very humble that you've left some things out which are very worth mentioning, okay? But we're going to talk about those. Now, the first thing, you're live from Paris. Tell me, is this your first time visiting Paris?
No, this is the third time actually I'm visiting Paris, but this time it was the seminar for the Congress in Paris over here for the 2 day, 26th and 27th. And there were nearly around 100 plus participants that attended. Many of them were online also. And the topic was all about the first and the second subclass of the plant kingdom, the newer concepts for the plant classification and having the subclass understanding of this particular kingdom. It really went well because many newer ideas people have now got to understand about how to precisely come into this particular remedy as far as the plant kingdom is concerned.
You know, I have a question for you on this. You're talking about subclass, and we already know that the majority of practitioners, of course, are well vested in their knowledge as far as, you know, the mineral, animal, plant kingdom is concerned, and the remedies and the sources, etc. But with these new concepts and these new ideas and the latest research, of course, where does a student or a graduate begin? Because it can become very overwhelming. There are different methodologies, different ways that one can practice and become a homeopath. And we know it's very much an art. So as a teacher and as an author, which you didn't mention, but I will certainly later on today, what is your sort of take on this?
See, basically, as a beginner, once a student passes out homeopathy, I would just give them one basic advice. For at least 1 year, not a big deal. Have a survey about all different schools that are there. Go and attend those seminars. See what exactly fits in with your aura. See what exactly you can grasp, because each one's way of grasping capacity and each one's the IQ level and the understanding this thing and the mental framework is completely different. Again, there is an individualization over there also. So I would rather suggest that 1 year at least have a survey of every different school, attending the seminars or webinars or workshop, whatever is conducted, and then see what actually appeals to you, what actually you can gather, and what you can what fits into your way of understanding. And then once you decide that thing, then there is no looking back. See that you polish that thing, see that you have that single path where you are going to now go ahead. Because many of the students, what I see is, for years together, they attend here also, they attend there also, they attend there also, and then they are finally confused. They do not know what exactly it fits for them or what exactly they should do as far as the taking of the cases or as far as the methodology is concerned.
That's very that's very good advice indeed. Now, going back to Paris, do tell us a bit more. Firstly, have you had time to sightsee, even though you've been 3 times?
Yeah, I have been to the Hanuman's crematorium as well as the Eiffel Tower. So, and again, of course, watching the beauties of a natural beauty of France. It's really wonderful. Historical places that are there over here, monuments that are there. So, a wonderful trip that actually I have whenever I come to Paris for a seminar.
Good. And Dr. Shekhar, tell us about the Congress and you know, what you were talking about specifically.
See, this Congress actually conducts this particular seminars. They call in different speakers every time for this Congress. And it's a 2-day affair, basically. And they decide the topic as to what is the thing that what the crowd actually wants. So what we discussed, and we discussed with the chairpersons, they wanted something about subclass and understanding, because it's the recent thing that is really catching fire like anything. So we said, okay, fine, let us deal with the subclass understanding. But then there was that, can we finish all the 6 subclasses in this 2 days? I said that is going to be too difficult, because it's a It's a huge, vast topic. So then we came down to the two subclasses in 2 days, and so therefore the idea about what exactly, how exactly it came up, what was the understanding behind it, what was the need for having this subclass understanding. We had plant kingdom, okay, we were dealing with the families, we were seeing which family that this case belongs to, but there was something that was actually missing, like how we have the periodic table at length in mineral kingdom, and everything is very crystal clear as far as the row concepts and the column concept is there. Similarly, we have a lot of understanding as far as the animal kingdom is there, where there is the mammalian group and the avian group and the amphibian group and the fish and birds and all that thing. And many of them, of course, have written books and given seminars and all that thing. But plant classification was a little bit difficult because it's a huge, basically huge kingdom. And so not many of the remedies have been proved, if you go to see. Many are yet to be proved, and many are just small little, maybe 4 lines, 5 lines, 6 lines, that type of remedies are there. So the concepts in plant kingdom was a little difficult aspect to understand. Is there some commonality between the remedies of different order belonging to the same subclass? Was the big question that was there. Because previously we would look at papaverus as a different family, we would look at ranunculus as a different family, we would look at magnolias as a different family, and then understand the patient, what the patient is telling, and look at the family and give. But there were also cases which we used to talk a bit of Ranunculaceae, a bit of Laurels, and a bit of Piperaceae, what to do. So then there was something missing. And of course, then Rajan Shankaran came up with this understanding of the subclass understanding as to what is the response that each subclass gives eventually to a given situation. And so we had the 6 different responses that came up into the picture. The first one, that is the first subclass about withdrawing. The situation comes, you are completely, you're so shit scared that you withdraw from there. Then the second one is the idea about peeping out and coming inside. Peeping out and coming inside. The third one was about being limited, being squeezed, being made small, as against to be expanded, limitless, no boundaries. The fourth one was all about stability and instability, how stable I am, how secured I am. And the fifth one was this space is too small for me, it is too claustrophobic for me, and I just cannot be over here. I need to break free, break the shackles, just break the chains and move out in the vast open space. And the sixth one was all about fight and flight sort of a response. That the danger is too big, I either need to fight it out or I need to just escape, run away from there. So these 6 responses now has really changed our life as far as understanding the cases were concerned. So once we understand what is happening, once we understand what subclass is it, then we see which order does it actually fall into. But then we see which family it falls into. So it is now kingdom, subclass, order, family, then the remedy. So we are not missing out anything or getting confused. Is it this? Is it that? Is it that? It is much more clearer. And still the work is under progress. But as of now, whatever has been done by Dr. Rajan Shankaran is quite amazing. It's a beautiful thing that we are blessed to have such understanding and now clarity as far as what we are doing specifically with the planting.
Amazing work that's being done. I absolutely agree with you. My question, would be, can you give us some examples of some of the remedies that you perhaps have looked over or looked upon?
See, recently, now that we just finished with this first subclass, the remedies like, for example, the piperacea, peppermynthysticum, or the remedy like opium for that matter, or the remedy like camphor for that matter. Now, if you see camphor, there is a lot of similarity as far as the mind state of camphor is concerned to that of stramonium for the sixth subclass. There is a lot of fear of dark and fear of the ghost and fear of this thing and threatening situation, which very much looks like the sixth subclass as far as fight and flight and danger is concerned. But then till now we never could differentiate it. But today the whole idea is completely clear as far as understanding is concerned. Is that when Camphor faces such a situation, he simply withdraws, curls inside, curling up like a ball. If you see that rubric, you'll see Camphor over there. And so therefore, this response helps us to segregate our cases as to which subclass am I looking for. And confusion about, oh, there is such a lot of danger, such a lot of dreams of danger is there, all these things is there, then why not sixth, why not stramonium? People would argue and debate on that. But today, when we see this, stramonium would have this particular response of fighting, going ahead, or if the danger is too big, I escape or run away from there. But camphor will curl into a ball, will withdraw inside. This withdrawal response that is there helps us to understand that camphor is the remedy for this person whose response is to withdraw, to curl up. But it is not that that person in the case is telling us that he would go ahead to fight that monster, to fight that big black dog, or to go ahead on the dark, lonely street. I would reach my destination anyhow. That would be something from the sixth subclass to understand which remedy fits in over there. So this type of, where it looks similar but yet so different, is a marvelous thing that we have now got this particular information to segregate cases, whether they are from the first or second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth, so on.
Now this interestingly takes me on, and you can see where my hand is, and you can see that your book is there. You have written this, a very dashing photo, I must say. I don't know if it's the right way around for those looking, but nevertheless. So, case taking, the art of connection, communication, and conversation. Now, I've already put my thoughts out on social media about the book, as you very well know. Extremely detailed, very crisp. I love the font. I love the size of the pages. I honestly do. I'm very particular about that. I love where you've used bolds and italics to make it easy for anybody, be it a professional homeopath or a student, to be able to understand. But based on what you've just said about subclasses and about families of remedies, people can become very confused. Oh my God, which one is it? For example, is it camphor or is it stramonium? What do I do? This book explains a lot because it's actually all to do, Dr. Shekhar, isn't it, with case taking and the observation that's involved, correct? And from there, one can over time, it's not something that just comes to you immediately, but over practice, over years, one can become a master at then being able to, let's say, streamline their approach as to which remedy is really going to be the simillimum, or remedies even. It depends. Every case is different, right? So we can't just rule it out. Everyone has a particular skill wherever that may be. But do explain, for those that perhaps haven't read the book, about the importance of case taking, because without the case, you cannot possibly help anybody. I mean, the questions have to be asked. Someone cannot just come to you and stand there and you just ask questions and then it's a yes, no, yes. That's not a case. That's not how to take a case. So do share your wisdom with us, because you're a genius at this, I have to say.
See, basically, first of all, let me tell you how I actually came up with this writing of this book. Many were asking, why don't you write a book? Why don't you write a book? You should. But my major forte was the oratory skills, to be very frank. Then I came across my colleagues, Dr. Bindu, and of course, Priyanka is there, Divya is there. So they all helped in some way or the other. Dr. Gayatri is there. And the idea was many would send their cases to me and would say, sir, I have been stuck over here. Sir, what to do after this particular understanding? And what I would see initially was that people never were writing their questions. They were only writing what the patient is saying and sending across. The first thing that clicked into my mind is how come they could write the case without writing what question they have asked? Because even during our school days also, if one question is wrong in any particular subject, we would run to the teacher and say, teacher, this question is wrong. I should get that marks. So answer can be given only when the question is written or the question is understood by the person. So therefore, the idea of what is the purpose behind the art of case taking? Am I ready to connect to that person? So the idea of connection has came up into my mind. So unless and until I do not connect in this gadget world, if I cannot connect right now itself, how can I communicate and how can we converse? So the idea of connection, then the idea of if the connection is proper, then there is communication followed by conversation. And what do I mean by connection as far as case taking is concerned? So every individual's conversation has some sort of a subject, and that subject is the main important thing for that person for which he or she has come to you. So I need to be with the subject. But what used to happen with many of the people, they would have a set format of questionnaire, nothing to do with the subject of the person's listening conversation, nothing to do with what they want to actually tell us. They would simply go into leading questions as per given by the format that they follow, and then they would prescribe virtually some or the other polycast remedies, which would not act at all for them. So the idea.
Can I just say
Yes.
that's so important what you've just said. It's so key, you know. So can you please repeat that? Because even though this is live, but the playback on Insta and YouTube, you know, people will listen back. This is so key, isn't it?
See,
So just do repeat that for everyone's
yeah.
benefit about that
What
connection
I
and
wanted to
subject.
what I wanted to say is people would follow a set pattern of questionnaire. That set pattern of questionnaire has got nothing to do with the subject of what they have an issue about. And since it has got nothing to do with their subject of issues, they are not able to connect to you. And ultimately, the physician would say the patient is not talking. How can I talk if I am the patient which you are asking me has got nothing to do with me? I don't even know what you're asking. The wavelength or the questionnaire or the connection is not set at all. And so therefore, they then start asking leading questions, which eventually lands up with some or the other polycrest remedies. And then that polycrest remedy, when administered, they do not get the result. So for me, the idea was when it came up into this thing is every individual has a subject of conversation. In that subject, there is a chapter precisely what is the thing in that subject. In from that chapter, there is a paragraph that is very, very important, which has touched upon them. When you probe further, then you get the punch line, what you call it the keynote symptom of the remedy. That is a line. So subject, chapter, para, line. This is how actually all the conversation, if you observe minutely, this is how it happens. Because any conversation to begin, it has to have some subject. Otherwise, that's exactly what we would do in school days also. We used to fill our bags what according to the timetable. That means this is the subject I have to carry, this is the subject I have to carry, I cannot carry anything and go over there to school. So this is the most important. And then the idea of P formula that emerged over there. Every question should have a purpose. Why did you ask? Many would answer, oh, I thought of asking, so I asked this question. It doesn't make any sense. because every question should have a proper purpose of asking. Because this patient said this, therefore I asked this question. Yes, there is an understanding behind it. So you are in sync with whatever is happening with the person in front of you. Once the purpose is clear in asking, the patient will narrate the details of all that he is suffering from as per the 84 aphorism. And then whatever he's going to narrate at that point of time will have all the possibilities. A, B, C, D are my problems. My work is my problem. My financial issue is my problem. My family, my spouse is not listening to me is a problem. So there can be more than one problems. These are the possibilities. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you ask what one is the thing that is bothering you the most, then they might pick up one or two. Those become the probabilities. Probably this or probably that, the third P. If the person can choose one, then you can go ahead and tell about this further. That is the prospect. If the person says both the things, if there are two probabilities, both are important, doctor, then one by one probe each one and see what is the thing coming up common. That becomes your prospect. And the prospect is the single path of the problem in that story of that individual. Once you go into the prospect, this is the first time that the patient and the physician are traveling on that path, because neither the patient has ever explored, neither you know what he's going to tell. That is the moment when you need to have your pause. That pause is because it is the first time that the person is traveling on that path. So he or she doesn't know, and therefore their body language, their pace of talk, the rhythm, the volume, the pitch, everything changes. And that changes, you also should change along with the pitch, volume, pace, rhythm of the person. And therefore, you need to give that space for them to enter into that new world which they are going for the first time. And even you are going to enter into that world. So that moment, do not be anxious. That moment, do not be hasty. Avoid being hasty, avoid being anxious. It will unfold. Just remain silent. Give that time so that the person can enter inside. Then what happens? Something strange starts coming up over there. When that strange starts coming up, which has nothing to do with the context of the person that was talking about till now, something strange has come up now. Then pick up that strange and ask them to describe that. That is something called as being persistent. The person might, no, I made mistake in saying, no, it was a slip of the tongue. All these excuses will be given. But see that you remain persistent. That P is very important, because you have to believe that there is something definitely peculiar thing going to come up over there. So when you remain persistent, that is the moment when you are now start going to see all the peculiarities that are going to come up. So all these 8 P's that are this thing is a perfect GSP for a person to navigate through the entire art of conversation. So this has really helped, at least for me, it has really helped, and many of them who are following it are really getting benefited as to what to ask, when to ask, where to ask, why to ask. All these W's along with this P has really done a marvelous job.
You know, it's music to my ears, you explaining that, because I think it's so, so important. And actually, just before I go to the what I was going to ask you, a big shout out to Ashley Mendoza, who's just joined from the Homeopathic World Conference. So thank you, Ashley. Great to see you online. Um, I was going to say that, you know, we've all been in this situation, certainly, where, you know, they say sometimes the tension, you can cut it with a knife, right? And when a patient does come, sometimes there is no connection immediately. You know that feeling is there, and we've all had it. It's just the way that things are. And the patient will come through the door, and very much you can just feel, and they feel immediately, oh, there's some sort of disconnection, nothing at all, you know? And this is where this wisdom of yours comes in, because just by letting them speak and letting them become comfortable in the surroundings at the same time, it's psychologically so, so important. You can't just let somebody sit down and barrage of questions, because that's not a conversation. That's almost like undue pressure on somebody for no reason whatsoever.
Correct.
You're actually going to probably end up making them more sick, because they're
Correct.
sort of really, oh my God, this is too much. And like you so eloquently put, the case opens up if we just hear, we just sit down and say, tell us, or tell me, what's the problem? How can I help? That's actually all you have to do. And like you've said, the patient themselves open up, and you don't know where the conversation leads. And by the end, you're laughing and they're happy and they're comfortable and they're telling you all these things which you think, oh, wow, I would never have got that if I had said, are you a chilly person? Are you a warm person? What time do you sleep? And what those things will happen, but they will happen as part of the conversation rather than let
Correct.
me tick the box, right? So I love what you're
Correct.
saying. It's so, so refreshing. Please carry on. I love it.
What happens when we are unbiased, when we are allowing the person to open up, then we see, because they are the producer, director, story writer of their own movie. What we see in our clinic is the person's movie, life story movie, and they are the producer, they are the director, they are the story writer of their own movie. We don't even have a remote control to change the channel. So therefore, stay unbiased. Believe that something is going to happen. And you see in that particular story, where is the problem? Who is the problem? What is the problem? Since how long is the problem? What is the pace of the problem? What is the intensity of the problem? What is the depth of the problem? All these W's, when you really start seeing it, you will really appreciate that people have got every bit to tell you, and they have come to tell you. But what is our problem is, the biggest enemy is this mind. I think before I can listen. I think before I can even see. And so therefore this thought process becomes the biggest hindrance and enemy before our special senses can even act. And in today's world, I'll tell you, even when people are having food, half of them are actually busy on the mobile. They neither see the food nor they smell them. I many a times ask my patient before beginning the case, sir, what did you have for dinner last night? What did I have? What did I have? Because they have not even seen, they have not even smelled. They don't even know what was the taste. They're busy on the mobile, scrolling down and having food. So how will the enzymes actually be released? What we call it as the visual reflexes. So even as a homeopath, Hahnemans also says the same thing. The physician sees, hears, and then remarks with his other senses, not mind. And so therefore, our observation should be pure observations. Listen to the entire conversation, what way the person is saying. And that introduction of noun, adjective, and verb, the grammar in homeopathy, has again added up something more to the art of conversation. When patient comes to us, they talk about the pathology, it's the noun. Hypertension, diabetes, this is the noun. Dead end of the road. Along with that, when they describe their pathology, the red discharge, the green discharge, the red eruptions, all these are the adjectives given to that particular noun. It specifies the noun, that characterizes the noun. And when we go further, the idea of pulling, drawing, stitching, stinging, burning, twisting, tightening, all these are the action. And these are the verb of that vital force. Because that vital force is something that animates the material body. It makes the material body to move. And therefore the verb is something that has got action word. And this action gives life to that sentence. If the sentence has got no verb, the sentence has got no meaning. This idea of how to trace from the noun to the adjective to the verb is a fantastic thing. And even if you see in the repertory, it is, if you see how it is being put up, is again the noun, the adjective, and then the verb. When it comes from the noun, it has got maybe 400, 500 coryza, 400, 500 remedies. Green discharge, maybe another 10, 15 remedies. Alternating sides, one remedy or two at the max. So you see how Cora to green to alternating, it has percolated down to one or two remedies only. So that's the beauty of how we can understand now grammatically and also in the conversation whether the person is talking in which tense. I wanted to do something, but I couldn't do that. So if the person is talking about the past tense, your question should be framed about past tense only. If the person is telling about future tense, this is what I want to do, your question should also be in future tense. So once the tense also matches, it syncs with the person because his thought is about future. You don't ask about the past. Or his thought is stuck in the past. You don't ask about the future. So when the tense also matches, the person is willing to tell you, wow, the doctor asked me about what I would like to do in future. This is what, because he has already framed that thing. He's already in the deluded state that this is what I am thinking, dreaming about. This is what I want to do. And when you touch that thing, it really touches upon the person. And then when you explore it, beautifully that person will converse.
I love it. You've actually brought case
This
taking.
grammatical. Yeah.
Oh, my apologies. Do carry on. I think a connection cut off. I thought you'd stopped.
Yeah. So this particular, the tense idea of the past tense, present tense, future tense, I am still doing it. It is a continuous present tense. What are you still doing? Should be the question. I wanted to do. What did you want to do? I'm planning to do. What are your plans? What are your plans about doing? So your question, when it is framed according to where the person is, the person is ready to tell you, because that is the most disturbing thing. It's always very clear. Either we are stuck in the past or we are stuck in the future. And therefore, this dreaming about the future or regretting about the past, the person is sick in the moment of now. So when that person is giving you about something that they are stuck about the past, go there. If the person is giving you dreaming about the future, go there. So it depends upon in that moment of time which tense is the person talking, and that really connects to them, because that is what they have come to share with you. That is what they have come to tell you. Baba, this is my problem. Rather than we asking, oh, forget your past, that's all, everybody go through that thing. So tell me what all are your problems. You're lost. You're completely lost. Because you have not touched upon what you had to touch upon. He has come to tell you something that he is having a problem about the past. You are going to tell him, oh, that is gone and now don't worry about it. Tell me about your future, what you're going to do. Or tell me about your present thing, what you're going to do. So that tense also really matters as far as the art of conversation is concerned. And when they use certain words, I am totally lost. The word totally has got a huge meaning to it. I could be lost. The word could, it's not confirmed. Could be meaning, I didn't get you. Could be meaning. So then he splits that word could be, where it is going, how he's perceiving that could be is very important to understand. So these small little words that are there in the art of but what happens to us as a physician, our knowledge. Person says, I was shocked. Tell about shock. Person says, oh, I was literally shivering at that moment of time when that happened. Tell about shivering. What happened to you at that point of time? This is something, because words are very attractive. We get stuck to that word, but we fail to understand how it is being expressed, the way it is being put up. What all are the things that the person is telling you along with that thing? That is very, very important, because the shadow is to be seen, not the statue. Statue is there, obviously, but look at the shadow, because when you understand the shadow, you get the idea from where the light is coming. In other words, if you are looking at the adjective, if you are looking at the other things that are coming along with it, if you look at that rather than this crazy sensation words that one feels, you are going to be completely lost. Because many a times at the beginning, 80, many a times people use the words which are learned. That's what I call it as acquired traits. At the beginning, acquired traits. You have acquired that particular words or that particular thing through your education, through your environment, wherever you belong to. But when the conversation goes ahead further, that is the time when you see the beauty of how the person uses those words and what exactly is the person trying to communicate. So the whole conversation is like I, me, my. I have this problem. This is how the person will initially introduce oneself. I have these issues. Slowly, steadily, when you go further into the conversation, without the you, the I cannot be disturbed. For any person for that matter, if there is no you, material or human, there is no you, the I is eternal. But the you is there for some or the other reasons for the I to get disturbed. So then from I, me, mine, the conversation goes ahead to they, them, those. Those are the people who are bothering me. They are the ones who are disturbing me. She is doing like this to me. He is doing like this to me. So then that conversation gives us the idea about which kingdom is this person belonging to in that talk of they, them, those. When you go further probe, go ahead with it, that is the time when the person actually loses his trend of thoughts and starts talking nonsensical, which is completely sensible for that person, but for us it is nonsense. That is the time when you see the conversation. It is like this. It is squeezing. It is tightening. It is burning. It is stinging. IT. I stands for inherent. T stands for traits. So from acquired traits to inherent traits is the journey of the conversation.
Well, it's very poetically done, you know. Really, really, really good. Very informative. Very educational indeed. And you know what you've said is so important because of the fact that we find, like I've just said, sometimes we have this disconnect with the patient. But that's just the way things are. But you know, once you start to resonate with that frequency, and all it needs literally is to listen, then you are assuredly going to be able to help that person. But to get on that wavelength, just like in the old days, you used to have a control knob on the radios, you know, now it's all online, right? You have to just sometimes fiddle about literally, you know, just here and there until you get the right bandwidth. And when that resonates, that bandwidth obviously is the same frequency as the patient. Resonance equals, God willing, a cure, you know?
True.
So, Dr. Shekhar, this is the first of your hopefully several Insta Lives with me. I will be greatly honored to invite you back. But just before we end for today, what's on the horizon for you? What are you working on next when you go back to India? What's are you doing part 2 of your book, or actually
Yeah,
before you
yeah.
answer that,
I'm just,
this
I'm just
book which we mentioned, this is available online for people to purchase.
yeah, a moment I go back, we'll make that online. But right now, I'm just working on the grammatical understanding because in today's Gazette world, we have lost our grammar totally. Especially when they're messaging and texting and all that thing. You see, many of the people skip the verb. And so therefore, the grammatical understanding, once that is introduced, will really be helpful as far as the art of conversation will be.
It's a strange situation we find ourselves in, and I'm sure you of course know this very well indeed. But we do spend so much time, and I even know of families who are sitting in the same home who are messaging each other, you know, and it's really odd because okay, yes, sometimes we all do it, okay, but you know that's one. But sometimes people just communicate within the home just by messaging, and there's no vocabulary, there's no expression, there's no emotion.
Correct.
How can you progress
Correct.
and develop intellectually without being able to converse? Human beings are social animals. We have to connect. We can't do things alone. You can't say,
Correct.
it's just me and this is enough. It's not going to happen. It doesn't work that way, you know?
It doesn't work.
So it's a fascinating conversation indeed. So you're going back, I believe, very soon, aren't you, back to India?
Yes, day after tomorrow I'll be leaving.
Okay, and you got a busy time coming up for February? Because we're really at the end
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Jan now.
yeah. February also we have got a couple of seminars coming up. A couple of webinars are there.
Wonderful. I hope you get some time to yourself as well, to just
Yeah.
to relax.
True.
It's very important. From doctor to
True,
doctor,
true, true.
it's important to have some me time.
Correct, 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 correct.
Dr.
It is a
Shekhar,
wonderful
absolute.
platform.
Sorry, say yes.
Basically, this is a wonderful platform. This is how we can actually spread the word, what exactly is happening and what exactly we are doing in today's world, how things are growing. Because if we are just sticking to our own practice and only our patients and this thing, then we are not able to
Hmm,
progress. We are simply going through life rather than growing in life.
hmm. That's actually very, very true. It's the objective of Homeopathic Voices, and this is, with UK Health Radio, I also do the podcast, as you know, which you're going to be on as well. Um, it's really just to bring everybody together, to be honest, so
True.
everybody knows what's going on, because homeopathy is living, and I'm trying to make it tangible so people know that it's fine to read your book, but who are you? Who am I? Who is
True,
anybody,
true.
in the field of homeopathy? What do they sound like? What is their knowledge and their insights and experiences? And that's so important for the next generation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very important because people should know who the person is and what the person's ideas and thoughts and things are like.
Well, I do hope you have a pleasant remaining time in Paris. It's been an
Thank you.
absolute joy and a big honor. Thank you so very much for joining me.
Thanks a
And
million.
And I do look
Thanks a
forward
million.
to seeing you on my podcast very soon. And
Sure.
of course, on Insta Live as well. So have a safe journey back
Lots,
to India.
lots to talk and lots to discuss still.
Lots, lots. Thank you so very
Yeah.
much. Okay.
Thanks a million.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a million.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye. See you soon. Bye bye.
See you soon.